So I'm one of the musculoskeletal researchers on the advanced study. And by musculoskeletal, we're really just referring to anything involving muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments, etc. Within advanced, there's two major focuses within the musculoskeletal data. So the first study that we're going to discuss today is looking at bone mineral density. And that mostly relates to fracture risk. So if you have a low bone mineral density and you fall, you have a higher risk of fracture. So although our injured population as a whole had a reduction in bone mineral density compared to our uninjured population, this was only in those who had an amputation. So those who were injured but did not experience an amputation had no reduction in bone mineral density compared to those who were uninjured. And importantly, within our amputated participants, even those who had a reduction in bone mineral density, it was local to the amputation. So on the amputated side, not on the other side, and not at the lumbar spine. So it is not widespread. It's not widespread throughout the skeleton. It's just local to where the amputation occurred. I think the key for our participants will be to know that anyone who has been injured but is not amputated, from a bone mineral density point of view, their numbers are similar to those who were uninjured. And those who suffered an amputation, especially a unilateral amputation, the effect will only be on the amputated side. It won't be throughout the whole skeleton. So it won't be at the spine, it won't be on the other side, it will be on the side of an amputation. And those with a below knee amputation, their bone mineral density is not as low as those with an above knee amputation. So this mechanical effect is even altered within the different types of amputation. A variety of next steps. We'll first need to understand some of the reasons for this reduction in bone mineral density. From our point of view, I'm really interested in interventions to improve the bone mineral density in this population. And we've been lucky to obtain some funding, some Marie Curie funding, to develop an exercise-driven intervention to attempt to increase bone mineral density in unilateral amputees. We will then run a very large interventional randomized control trial just to see if we can improve bone mineral density through exercise. And exercise in this case, I'm meaning resistance exercise and high impact loading, so things like hopping and jumping. And these have been proven to be very successful in other populations to improve bone mineral density. But I suppose we have the advantage of a much larger cohort. We've also controlled for a variety of other factors, such as activity in this case. And we have a much younger cohort, and it's obviously much more recent since their injury. And of course, the massive advantage we now have is to follow our participants over the course of the next number of years to see how this changes. One of the major questions we have is whether this drop in bone mineral density is very acute after the amputation. There is some research following individuals who had an amputation over the first year, and we see a massive drop off in bone mineral density initially. And there's nothing that I've read that followed individuals over a prolonged period of time to see whether that acute drop off plateaus and stays the same, or continues to gradually either return to normal or potentially gradually continue to decrease. So we will start to obtain some of that information from follow-up 1 within the advanced study. And this will be, very, very novel, very interesting data that is rarely observed anywhere in any other population. So the opportunities we have to learn about such fundamental elements of bone health because of our participants volunteering for this study will have huge ramifications, not only in our population, but in a variety of other populations.